Today we will be discussing how to internally adjust your travel on your Cane Creek Helm fork. A step-by-step guide can be found for this procedure in Helm's instruction manual on page 20. For this procedure you will need a 13mm wrench, an 18mm wrench, and a 22mm wrench, along with the travel spacers that came with your Helm fork. Warning: follow all of these steps before performing a travel adjustment. Contact an experienced mechanic or a Cane Creek authorized service center if you do not feel confident doing this procedure. First, unthread the air valve top cap to reveal the air valve. Next, unthread the cap on the bottom of the air spring to reveal and unthread the negative equalizer chamber. Press the button and allow the air out of the top of the fork. Using a 13mm wrench, loosen the compression rod nut on the air side leg. Do not unthread completely. Using an 18mm wrench, loosen the rebound knob assembly on the damper side leg. Do not unthread the rebound knob assembly completely. Using both hands, tap lightly on the compression rod nut and the rebound knob assembly to disengage the seals on the lowers. Now, remove both assemblies completely. Have the fork face down on something protective. Grabbing the lowers and the upper legs with a hand on each, pull and separate. Leave the lowers of the fork face down to prevent the loss of oil. Clamp the separated uppers in a bike stand with the legs facing up. Now we are ready to perform the travel adjustment. Wipe off the residual grease on the air seal head. Push the compression rod down for the next step. Using a 22mm wrench, unthread the air seal head. Pull the air seal head upward, exposing the compression rod assembly. Avoid lifting the air piston past the threads on the upper legs. The O-ring of the air piston could be damaged if it's lifted past the threads of the stanchion. Lift the bottom out bumper, the metal washer, and the white nylon washer up the compression rod to allow the spacers to be added. Travel spacers are intended to be placed between the white nylon washer and the blue air piston. Next, attach the desired amount of travel spacers to the compression rod. This example is showing a 170mm fork being transformed into a 150mm fork. Push the compression rod down to allow the air seal head to be rethreaded onto the uppers. Reinstall the air seal head with the 22mm wrench. Torque the air seal head to 16 Nm. It's important not to over-tighten the air seal head. To reinstall the uppers on the lowers, press the charge button down and pull the compression rod up to 50% extension. This is a very important step. This prevents air from being trapped in the lowers, which would inhibit the rider to achieving full travel and properly setting air pressure. The O-ring on the bottom of the damper rod and the O-ring on the bottom of the air spring rod should be closely monitored when reinstalling the uppers and lowers. 2 extra O-rings are included with each Helm fork. Reconnect the uppers and lowers of the fork. The compression rod should extend out past the lowers, while the rebound knob assembly threads stay within the lowers. This is where it is critical to properly align the rebound knob to avoid damaging the O-ring. Apply blue Loctite to the rebound knob assembly. Avoid placing it on the gold anodized adjuster. Apply blue Loctite to the threads of the compression rod on the air spring, avoiding contact with the negative equalizer button. Reinstall both the rebound knob assembly and the compression rod nut. The rebound knob assembly should be tightened to 7 Nm, while the compression rod nut should be tightened to 5 Nm. Once the fork is fully reassembled, unthread the equalizer valve on the bottom of the air spring and press in. Pull on the uppers and the lowers of the fork to return travel to full extension. The fork can now be reinstalled on the bike and sag can be set.